everyone, how are you all? कैसे हैं आप सभी लोग? I hope you all must be having a great time. And now in this session, I am going to cover one of the most important topic in modern history for your upcoming prelims 2025. That is the educational development in British era, guys. Right? One of the most important yet complicated topic. Many of the aspirants find it very complicated. Why? Because over here we have to understand a lot of commissions which had come in India and which were there basically for the educational reforms or development, you can say. So the most important problem which we face while dealing with this chapter is how to remember all these commissions first of all, and then what are the different provisions in that. While reading on your by yourself also through Spectrum or Bipin Chandra, you might have faced this problem, right? So we will understand in this session. I'll make you not only remember, but you will have this particular all these commission on your tips and their provision. What to remember, what you have to leave, I'll be telling you. Okay. So let us start and understand. I have made a roadmap that how these developments were happening year by year, how they were coming, right? In that way, we have to understand it. Certain mindset I need to take this particular chapter on our tips. What you have to do is simultaneously have some white sheets with you or A4 size sheets with you. Prepare some short things which I am saying in the class, guys. Otherwise, you will have to again see the lecture, then make the notes. It will get lengthy, right? So one time if you are watching it, be sincere about it, sit back and keep pen and paper with you, guys. Okay? Without that, don't proceed. And use the mechanisms of pause. This is the recorded video. That's why you have to utilize the pause method, which I always say. Like pause it whenever I'm telling you Hunter Commission, pause the video, understand it from a lecture, then read by yourself too. I'll be telling you what to ignore, what not to ignore too. Okay? So let us begin, guys. First of all, you understand this is the roadmap I'll be telling you, but we as a country, was there any need of any particular educational development in our country at that point of time? Yes, you will say at that point of time we were having the need. But if I ask you about the 6th century BC, were we lagging anywhere with respect to the education? Basically, we were the hub of education in 6th century BC, in 8th century AD. Right, in 6th century BC, we were having the international fame as Takshila University. Right. So we were the hub of the advancement in education, what can be studied at that point of time. 8th century AD, you were seeing that we were having one international institution known as Nalanda. Then over the period of times, you will be seeing that there were not much progress with respect to the education, guys. Over here you will be seeing Gupta period also in the 5th century or 4th century AD, where we were having the golden age, right? Because Aryabhat and several other science and technology innovations we were doing at that point of time. So if throughout ancient times, we were one of the glorious countries to have education as our founding base, where we were focusing on education. But over the period of time period, you will be seeing that education became decadent, right? Basically, religious domination over the educational institution, you will be seeing religious teachings were being given. So very much focus was not given on education, guys. But later on, what happened, you will be finding this when British East India Company came over here and then British Empire ruled over us. Then certain education reforms or certain education push you will be seeing. Why this push? Were Britishers were thinking about us that Indians should get educated? We will understand that, right? So we will be seeing this map. You will be seeing that initially there was no effort from the British East India Company. So there were individual efforts, right? And whenever you are making the note, suppose this is your A4 size sheet, in the similar manner you have to make, guys, like individual effort. I'll be telling you how to write, when to write. Okay? Individual effort, then certain institutions which came. Keep the tab. It is very important for prelims. Nobody will ask you the elaborate discussions on Macaulay minute provisions. Nobody will ask you. But overall, you have to understand how you will differentiate between the Macaulay minute and the Raleigh Commission. Why Raleigh Commission came? Why Macaulay minute came? Why this Wardha scheme? You have to understand. Okay. So from this lecture, we are going to take this particular thing on our tips, and it will be really helpful for you if you will see the session with 100% concentration, the way I want you to see it. Okay? So let us start with the individual efforts in the initial times, guys, right? So see over here, देखो, initially what was happening when British East India Company came over here, 1600 में तो they were asking for us to have favor to basically erect one or two factories over Surat, Masulipatam, over here you were seeing. But over the period of 1700, they were trying to accumulate power, and they basically were successful in that too. And 1757 and 1764 was the turning moment for them to enter or to interfere in the politics of our country. So over here, they gained some political control too. When they have gained control over political scenario, still initially their motive was not to give education over here or not to stress upon education. Their main motive was on a trade and earning huge profit. That was their aim only. But slowly and slowly, I'll be telling you how this particular thing changed over here. So you will be understanding that initially they focused on trade and profit. They did not prioritize education in India. Now, when you are politically ruling, you are a European country, guys. Okay? Or everything is changed over there. Language, culture, everything is changed, right? And when you have gained political control over here during 750s to 1800, when you were expanding, doing war with Marathas, doing war with Mysore, signing with the princely state subsidiary alliance, then what? Now you have gained the political control in these regions. Political control means everything you are controlling over here. Now you are feeling the need of communicating with the subjects. Subjects are Indian, whose culture, language, everything is different. So now you can understand that there is East India Company. And over here we are Indians. Now to connect with the subjects over whom you are dealing, or over whom you are dealing, basically you need a particular connection between them, and who will connect them. So they tried to educate some of the Indians. Education, not to let them and feel enlightenment free. No. For that purpose, they were not providing education. They were providing for education just for the administrative help, which they can get for ruling our country efficiently and for looting us basically. So over here, they want to create a clerical class who will act as a mediator between the British East India Company and the Indians. So for this, for example, they are making some economic policies, political policies. Now there will be some flaws too. So they were making some codes too, right? So over here, in order to understand the Indians, they have to understand the Indian laws. And India at that point of time was governed, or you will see two major population, Hindus and Muslims. Muslims have their own laws, Shariat. Over here, Hindus were governed by their own laws, right? So these things Britishers have to understand. So what Britishers will do? So you will be seeing that over here, they will be putting some individual efforts. Individual means Warren Hastings in 1783, 1781 will be establishing this Calcutta Madrasa. And today's name is Alia University. Why he will establish this Calcutta Madrasa? Just for the understanding of the Muslim laws of the country, how Muslim people are basically governed by Muslim laws. So they were creating a branch of people who can understand or who can interpret things for them. Similarly, this is for Muslims law. Now over here, Hindus law, they have established in 1791. Very important, guys, very important. Okay, Sanskrit College, 1791. Now 1791, you will be seeing that Governor General was Lord Cornwallis, but it was founded by Jonathan Duncan. Warren Hastings was the Governor General, 1773. If you want, I'll make a separate video for Viceroys. You will remember Viceroys once for all. I'll be making a separate video for that, but we'll not mix it right now. So over here, you will be seeing Sanskrit College for Hindu laws, Calcutta Madrasa for the Muslim law. Over here, Manusmriti and all in Sanskrit College, they will be understanding and have better understanding of Hindu law and philosophy. Okay, these two institutions were very important. Also, in 1800, they will be setting up this Fort William College, which was set by Wellesley in Calcutta to train civil servants in Indian languages and customs. So these were some initial efforts you will be seeing by the Britishers. Just for their administrative help, they were doing it. It was not for the interest of Indians, for our people, right? You have to understand that. Also, in the social religious reforms, you must have understood the basically contribution of our great social reformers. who are basically thinking about our people and in order to uplift them in the societal, in the economical sphere, so that they can cut down these social evils like parda system, education, polygamy, sati pratha. All this they can abolish. And why they and how they were utilizing this? By many methods, and one of the method was education. So that's why you will see the early efforts, early individual efforts from Raja Ram Mohan Roy, from Jyotiba Phule for the upliftment of upper class or lower class, sorry. Then you will be seeing Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. I'm not writing fully right. Over here, many other reformers will be coming and setting up their educational institution. I'm just focusing upon the education institution, guys, right? So over here you will see. So over here you try to understand that we have Raja Ram Mohan Roy's role in the modern education, where they were providing, where they wanted to provide the Western education to, a Western philosophy to. They wanted that it should be a mix of both. Orientalism means our traditional knowledge is also very important. Also, the Western knowledge is also important, and we'll mix it together. That's why you will be seeing that Raja Ram Mohan Roy helped over here to form Calcutta College. David here, he helped, right? And this you must have studied while reading about Raja Ram Mohan Roy too. Over here you will be seeing that a lot of colleges were set up by Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar too. A lot of girls' college was set up by Savitri Bai Phule too. So over here, government initiatives were also there to set up certain Sanskrit colleges in Calcutta, Delhi, and Agra to support traditional learning, aligning with the earlier focus on classical language. Dekho, you try to understand. Certain English people were focusing upon Western knowledge and philosophy. Try to understand. These are one group. One group is countering that and saying that our traditional knowledge is one of the best. We don't need any Western traditional knowledge. Then there were certain reformers, great reformers, that are Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Jyotiba Phule. They wanted to integrate these two with the base as our traditional knowledge. Right? So like this, you will see the tendencies overall. Okay? Ultimately, what you have to pick it from here is these institutions, individual efforts, earlier efforts, you have to mention these. Right? Also, when I taught you about socio-religious reform movement, I told you that Raja Ram Mohan Roy also established Vedanta College. Vedanta College, right? English college, English school also. Like this, many schools he has opened. So what about the purpose over here? You will be seeing British East India Company, why they wanted to basically educate, why they wanted to do this. So basically, they wanted to produce qualified Indians for administrative roles, and that too not on a higher position, but on clerical position they wanted. Okay. Training in classical languages was essential for legal administration and correspondence with Indian states. For example, there are certain princely states over here, and over here this is British presidency. Now, in order for them to communicate with them, they need an Indian representative who will be well versed with the English also, who will be well versed with the local language too. So it will act as a diplomat, you can say, in that point of time, or you can understand interpreter over it. Okay. Also, enlightened, at that point of time, enlightened Indians wanted modern secular education. Why? To address social, economic, and political challenges, so that people can wake up from the social evils which were happening at that point of time, superstitious beliefs. Okay. Also, why missionaries wanted these reform modern education? Because they wanted to convert people from Hinduism or Islam towards Christianism. So it helped spread Christianity by undermining traditional Indian beliefs, because we will not say that every point of our religion which is written in our scriptures is infallible, or we cannot say that it is like 100% true, right? But we were having certain, in both Islam and Hinduism, you will be seeing certain practices were you will be seeing of evil nature, right? So that's why these things were happening parallelly. Okay. So from this particular part, you must have got about, now you pause the video and try to understand. You have learned about that initially. देखो यहाँ पर आपका educational development, आपके जहाँ पर भी notes बन रहे होंगे, wherever you are making the notes, educational development, individual efforts, write down just points. Calcutta Madrasa, you have seen Sanskrit college, and this Sanskrit college was at Banaras, right? opened by whom, थोड़ा date, you try to mention the date too. Over there you have seen Raja Ram Mohan Roy's contribution over there. Okay, then you will be seeing certain Sanskrit colleges were set up at. Rest of the things you don't need to write. You have understood that well and good. Nobody will ask you all this. Okay? So in this time period, you will be seeing the beginning of shift from traditional indigenous education to focus on Western style education, setting the stage for significant changes in India's educational landscape in the 19th. Right? Okay, so individual efforts is done. Then for the first time, you will be seeing company will take up the role and will introduce this Charter Act of 1813. It is not solely for education, but one provision in this particular Charter Act of 1813, where you must have understood that it ended the company's commercial activities except in two: trade in tea and trade with China. After other than that, you will be seeing that over here one provision was added for education, that a government budget, means East India Company's budget, whatever is there, certain budgets will be fixed for education purpose. So for the first time you are seeing the government effort, and at that point of time government was East India Company, so don't get confused. Okay? So over here Charter Act 1813 will be seeing the points which are related to education. So over here you will be seeing the first acknowledgement of education, modest start in education, you will be seeing by Charter Act of 1813. Over here you will be seeing that promote education, the company has to allocate 1 lakh annually. In 1813 is what it was decided. But there were certain debates going on that how this money should be utilized. Okay, we'll be spending certain money on education, promoting education for the Indian people. But how this education has to be done? Whether this education should be based on Western sciences, or it should be based on traditional sciences or traditional knowledge, or indigenous knowledge, you can also say. Also, there was one question that whether this knowledge was to be provided in English or in the vernacular, means local language. How this is to be done? What you will think? England people or British East India Company people will be focusing upon this English education. English mode of education should be English, and Western particular scientific knowledge should be given to the people. So over here you will be seeing that there were two groups basically which divided it, and the group is known as Orientalist and Anglicist controversy. This Orientalist Anglicist controversy arose within the General Committee on Public Instruction in the early 19th century. Okay, they were discussing on what and who were the Orientalists. You can see over here. Anglicists were these. No need to remember, but you can note these three names, guys. Okay, nobody that is not written in your spectrum, but you have to note it down. Lord Macaulay, Charles Trevelyan, Mountstuart Elphinstone. They were focusing upon that Western science education should be provided in English language. Whereas you will be seeing the Orientalists were H.H. Wilson, James Mill, and Horace Hayman Wilson. Orientalism, you don't think about social reformers. There were certain section of the people in the British East India Company itself who were advocating that vernacular languages should be utilized. Also, you will be finding that Orientalists were supporting the Indian languages, traditional languages also. Okay? So there was a debate. Orientalist, traditional Indian learning, they were advocating classical languages, they were focusing upon. Also, they were supporting that Western sciences and literature should also be included. But it should be included as a complement to traditional education. It should not replace traditional knowledge. Whereas Anglicist was focusing upon modern and Western education. They were emphasized teaching Western sciences, literature, technology to modernize Indian society. Understanding? Okay, one more debate you will be seeing, pro-English faction debate and pro-vernacular debate which was going on. The Indian vernaculars should be used for teaching as they were more accessible to the masses. Now you understand, in 1947 or in 1950, only few percentage of our people were educated. I'm talking about 1950, and these reforms are happening in 1830, 100 years before. So literacy was like negligible. Only certain sections which you can count on paper or which you can count on hand, which were getting educated, right? So over here we are talking about that thing. They are right now not talking about the mass education. They are talking about a certain section which they can utilize for administrative purpose. So Charter Act of 1813 was a small but important step towards institutionalizing education in India. Institutionalizing education in India, you will be see that it will become one of the subjects to discuss upon. It highlighted the growing tension between traditional and modern education, setting the stage for later debate, which I have already told you. Now, this debate was settled by what? This debate was settled by the landmark decision in 1835, which is known as Lord Macaulay's Minute. Okay, and that's how we will come to Lord Macaulay's Minute. Okay, so in Lord Macaulay's Minute, you will be finding that there was a shift was given to English education, and 1835 onwards you will be seeing India's education policy was basically governed by this Lord Macaulay's Minute over here, guys. Okay, they prioritize of modern Western knowledge over classical studies. ये debate भी खत्म. They dismissed traditional learning as useful, which was the arguments of the Orientalist, right? So this particular Lord Macaulay's Minute is also known as that they promoted this downward filtration theory. This decision paved the way for downward filtration theory, where Western education was imparted to a selected group of elites who were expected to spread knowledge to the masses. समझने की कोशिश करो. Try to understand this. So over here you understand that we have over here British East India Company. Then what they were trying to do by Lord Macaulay's Minute, that they have fixed the upper class. This is not middle. They will not teach the lower class people. Not in villages they will set up schools, not in districts, but they will be set up some of these institutions for the elite and middle classes, guys. And these elite and middle classes will be spreading knowledge in the masses. Okay, this is the responsibility of not the government, East India Company, but of these elite masses, that over the period of time, which they have created these elite masses, which are only Indians in blood. But because of these studies, they have become over here, their opinions are English, their ideas, their thought, their taste are English because of this English education. So it was their duty to spread this education system towards the masses over here. That's why this system was known as downward filtration theory. Dhyan rakhna. While making note, just mention this particular part, downward filtration theory. And now some of the provisions you have to understand. Basically, back 4 or 5 years back, you will be seeing that Lord Macaulay was this Minute of Lord Macaulay's 1835. In India, it was published basically in a wrong way. It was getting published, means Lord Macaulay's Minute never said some things regarding India, which was being published in 2018, 2017 onwards. Certain section of people was spreading the false messages. That's why I am trying to give you a gist of this Lord Macaulay's Minute 1835, but no need to stress upon this particular thing only. Okay? Just have a gist of idea about these things. So over here, a brief idea about who was Lord Macaulay. This is his introduction. No need to learn this, but just understand that he played a substantial role in determining India's education policy. He was one of the first law officer in the Governor General Executive Council too. So one member which was added. Right, so over here he was the Lord Macaulay, and Lord Macaulay will be important ahead also. Okay, we'll be understanding that. So these are the provisions of Lord Macaulay's Minute, guys. 1835. In 1835, he gave a speech to Parliament. Who Parliament? Whose Parliament? Britain Parliament. Okay. He said that focus of educational funds should be in the promotion of modern sciences and literature that are of highest utility. So what he's trying to do, that he's stressing on the fact that this modern sciences and Western sciences are having more utility than the traditional knowledge. Also, it should be achieved by the English language. So the debate is settled, I have told you. He was the critique of Oriental education. It is also given. Lord Macaulay's Minute, you will be seeing that he was criticizing certain of the Oriental education. He was saying that the existing focus on Sanskrit, Arabic, labeling them as less valuable compared to European literature and sciences. Okay. He also stressed on the fact that superiority of Western sciences and literature. No need to stress upon this more. Okay. Over here you will be seeing certain practical implications also. He have told that modern sciences have practical implication, whereas learning Sanskrit and Arabic will be not as much as, is not having that much utility, right? Purpose of English education. English should become the medium of education to create a class of Indians who are English in tastes, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. This is his statement in this minute. The class would act as intermediaries between the British rulers and the Indian populace and help modernize vernacular languages for broader use. So what he did, seized funding for Arabic and Sanskrit educational institutions, allocated resources to establish and improve English education through school and colleges, and stipends for students for these particular things. So that's why you will be seeing a back push or your backward trend in the learning of traditional knowledge, right? So a minimal support was given to traditional institutes like Banaras College, Sanskrit College over here, and Delhi colleges. You will. So just add these certain points in your Macaulay's minute. When you are writing the notes, you have individual efforts you have written. Now Macaulay's minute, and write certain points related to that. Ultimately, which you have to remember for the prelims, right? So what happened by this? What happened that modern education was spread over here. So new political, social, and scientific ideas came into the mind of people. But it was not expected. Britishers were not expecting that they will work for them. Rather, some of the people started basically implementing those ideas for the freedom struggle of India through parties, press, public platform, pamphlets. And this gave a stimulus for the Indian nationalism, which you will see over there. By the moderates, by the INCs, by the extremists, by the revolutionary activities you were seeing in the first phase, like 1900 to 1950, right? So the availability of this Western literature on political and social sciences, where they are learning about American Revolution, French Revolution based upon equality, liberty, fraternity, enabled these Indian thinkers to analyze colonial exploitation and develop the foundation of nationalism and reform movement. Also, the colonial interests were also served. The content, structure, and curricula of modern education were designed to produce clerks and administrators loyal to the Britishers, which they were to, right? Till the 1940s, you will be saying they were loyal to them, right? And they were able to maintain colonial control rather than empower Indians comprehensively. So what you will find that the significance of Macaulay's minute is not only limited to the Western education in India, but also it laid the groundwork for a growing awareness of modern political and social concepts. This is very important. Because of this educated Indians, you can say, because initially push was given by these intelligentsia only, educated Indians only, when they formed INC, because in INC, the initial members you will be seeing 70 delegates were almost all were lawyers, foreign studied, right? So it indirectly contributed to the rise of Indian independence movement too. Okay, but this particular Macaulay's minute is also not focusing on the mass education, mass literacy. They are not focusing vernacular development. They are not focusing. Okay. Now let us move to the Wood's Despatch, guys. Very important, and it is said to be the Magna Carta of education. And this has been asked in prelims once too. Magna Carta of education. So over here you will be seeing now Wood's Despatch 1854, a landmark in Indian education, and this is considered to be the Magna Carta. Magna Carta is said to be something very important official document. Okay, so it is considered to be a Magna Carta of English education in India. In 1850s, you are talking about specifically 1850. It was a pivotal document that laid the foundation for a structured educational system in colonial India. Because before this, you are not seeing any structure in education system. You are just seeing that elite should be taught in English language and about the modern sciences and social sciences, right? Western philosophies. This you were studying. So it marked, because now Wood's Dispatch will be giving you a structure that how the village people should be taught, how the district people should be taught. Like this, you will get some structure over here. So it marked a significant shift in British educational policy by this particular Wood's Dispatch, guys. So over here, you will see Wood's Dispatch 1854. He was the Woods, no need to remember. Just see that his name was Charles Wood, and he was also the president of Board of Control. Now, what was Board of Control? I have taught you this in the Acts video, Administrative Act video. And if you have seen this, or if you are understanding modern history in the right way, tell me through which act Board of Control came into picture or came into the scenario. Tell me, right? So over here, you will be seeing that this particular Charles Wood became important because over here he gave the shift, or he gave a push towards the Indian education system. So because of this charter, you will be seeing that he suggested a major shift to popularizing the use of English within India. And in real sense, you will see that because of this Wood's Dispatch, you will understand that their real motive was to basically civilize society, to maintain a civilized, to transform India into a civilized society and convert the Indian mindset by making rapid changes, right? So you will see that one of the most remarkable steps taken was to create an English speaking, though we will be seeing some of the provisions of Wood's Dispatch, right? Yeah, these are the features which we are going to discuss of the Wood's Dispatch. But before going ahead, we have to see the efforts of James Thomson in vernacular language, in vernacular education too, guys. Yeah, when this was happening, I have told you that 1833 around, you were seeing the Macaulay's minute, right? And in 1843 to 1853, you will be seeing that in the northwestern provinces, not frontier province, northwestern frontier province is this one, but northwestern provinces is this one, UP's northwestern part. So in the northwestern provinces, you will be seeing LG, Lieutenant Governor, as James Thomson. And he made some notable contribution in the field of education. How? Why? Because for the first time, you will be seeing he was particularly focusing on the use of vernacular languages, that too in the village level. So his contributions is limited locally, first of all. That's why I'm telling you, I just missed this basically. So very locally they are based. Also, he was focusing upon the village level education over here. So over here, you will be seeing village education initiative. The subjects that were taught should be basically mensuration, agriculture, sciences, not some Newton laws or Western sciences, right? These subjects were basically utilized for their day-to-day work, right? So over here, you will be seeing the primary aim was to train local personnel for employment in the newly established revenue and public work departments. The education system sought to create a skilled workforce that could support the colonial administration at the village level. So आपके इसमें वुड्स डिस्पैच से पहले मैकॉलीज मिनट्स के बाद जेम्स थॉमसन का रोल भी आप देखिएगा. जेम्स थॉमसन, राइट? नाउ जेम्स थॉमसन रोल इन द फील्ड ऑफ टेक्निकल एजुकेशन वाज ह्यूज, because in 1847 he was responsible for institutionalizing or opening the institute of IIT Roorkee, guys. At that point of time, it was not known as IIT Roorkee. At that point of time, it was known as Thomson College of Civil Engineering, because IIT Roorkee is famous for civil engineering, right? So at that point of time, it was named as Thomson College of Civil Engineering. Okay, and 1857 it was being opened up. So it was one of the great step towards the technical education advancement in India, right? Now you come to the features of Wood's Dispatch. As we were discussing Wood's Dispatch, I have told you. Now the features. First of all, he is the person who basically took the responsibility of educating the masses. Till now, nobody was talking about the masses. So mass education he talked about. So the Dispatch emphasized the need for the government to take responsibility for the education of the masses, but not the elitists. So it was moving away from this downward filtration theory, right? Also, it developed a hierarchical education structure. For example, there should be primary government schools. There should be Anglo vernacular schools in high school, right? At district level, at villages, there should be primary schools, and primary schools, vernacular medium should be used. That means students should be used in local languages. But in the higher studies, the students should be taught in English only. Then you will be seeing the affiliated colleges. They also, Wood's Dispatch or Charles Wood also focused on the opening up of universities on the same line of London University of that time. So he focused upon these opening up of universities like Calcutta, Bombay, Madras. At 3 presidencies, 3 institutes should be opened up. Also, he advised that every province should have an education department. Understanding? So over here, you will be seeing that medium of instruction, English for higher education, vernacular languages he also focused upon. One fact which I want to tell you, that at that point of time, Governor General was Dalhousie. And Dalhousie was also in favor of the spreading of knowledge in vernacular languages. This is a huge deal that Lord Dalhousie was also focusing upon the vernacular languages. Okay, this one fact you can remember. He focused upon female and vocational education too. Okay, vocational education means skills which are required for employment. Okay, he focused upon the teachers training too, and that should be in the vernacular languages too. Okay, to improve the quality of education. Secular education should be provided. Okay, grants in aid system was introduced. He proposed that a grant in aid system to encourage private and missionary participation in education. So over here you will be finding that 1857, Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, these universities came up. Bethune School, 1849, founded by J.A.D. Bethune. It became a model for female education, was supported by government grants. And later on you will be seeing that who will become the secretary of this school, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Technical and agriculture education. Though Engineering Institute at Roorkee, which is basically IIT Roorkee, was due to the efforts of James Thomson, which we have already seen, which is today known as IIT Roorkee, and Agriculture Institute at Pusa, IARI, which first built in Bihar, Pusa, promote agriculture education, was built in this time frame, guys. Understand. Later on, it was transferred to Delhi, which you are seeing in IARI in Delhi. So IARI are at a lot of places, but Delhi Pusa Institute is very famous for it. Okay. Then there was some missionary and private contribution too. You will see that. So what happened by this particular Woods Dispatch? Westernization happened. Nationalism also came into picture because the Indians were exposed to modern ideas of liberty, equality, and nationalism. Right? Female education was stressed upon over there. Some limitation was, despite its progressive outlook, mass education remained underfunded. Still, we are not able to mass educate people. Our literary rate is not more than, right, is not achieving this at 90% mark also. So vernacular languages at the primary education at the primary level often received less attention compared to elite English medium school, right? So, but all these things you don't have to write. This is also important for mains, but you are specifically understanding for prelims. So, Woods Dispatch and certain points, very short points you have to write over here too. So, you have seen the individual efforts. Revise what you have written. Charter Act, 1-2 points you have to remember. Macaulay Minute, 1 or 2 points over here. Woods Dispatch, 3-4 points. Institutionalized structure you are seeing of education system now. At primary level we have government schools, secondary level we have, or district level we have schools, colleges, and at the center we have some universities also, Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay. Right, next we are going to see that after 1853, 1880s, you will be seeing one commission, that is Hunter Commission. And let us see the Hunter Commission now. Come to Hunter Commission, Hunter Education Commission now. Okay, understand again. 1830 Charter Act, 1835 Macaulay's Minute, 1843 James Thomson, 1854 Woods Dispatch. Now after this Woods Dispatch, for 30 odd years, Woods Dispatch, based on this Woods Dispatch, Indian education system was working. And in 1882 you will be seeing now. So you will see that it aimed to review the progress made since the Woods Dispatch, address the neglect of primary and secondary education. Means you try to understand. First of all, W. Hunter was the chairperson over here. You will see that's why upon his name you will be seeing this education commission was named. So what he has to do? There were certain, he has asked that there are type of institution. You try to understand. There is university education, then secondary education, then primary education, and then technical education was also one wing. This commission was asked that you don't focus upon this university education and technical education. You focus upon these two, primary and secondary education, that why they are not functioning well, primary and secondary. That's why you will see that he has to address the neglect of primary and secondary education over. So what was his recommendation? Directly come over here. So his recommendation, now you try to understand UPSC. If you are not understanding these statements clearly, then UPSC might play with you that Hunter Commission was related to, Hunter Commission has introduced many reforms in the technical education and higher education or university education. That statement becomes wrong because his primarily focus was on primary and secondary education only. So primary education means the education which was given at the village level. So the commission emphasized the need for state involvement in expanding and improving the primary education. They recommended that vernacular languages should be the medium of instruction. It should be focused upon here. And this education should be accessible to the masses because they are taught in vernacular language. Also, he talked, one of the most important thing, he talked about decentralization of control. What do you understand by this? Decentralization of control over education. 1880s to 1884, I told you that there was one very progressive Governor General for India, or you can say Viceroy of India, that was Lord Ripon. For our favor, he was giving certain decision. So over here, he brought one resolution, that is local self-government resolution, local self-government. That's why he is known as the father of local self-government also. I'll be telling you in the Viceroy video. Because of local self means, so what Lord Ripon suggested that this education subject should be given to the village level itself, and they will handle this particular subject independently. That's why decentralization. Proposed transferring of control of primary education only to district and municipal boards, which were better placed to address the local needs. Primary education की बात हो रही है, right? Now, what they were telling about dual track for secondary education means, you must have heard that after 6th, 7th class, after 8th class basically, you can either go for vocational training courses, means ITI, or you can go for higher studies. Or somewhere you have seen that after 10th you can opt for polytechnic. So this, who has proposed this? Basically over here in 1882 was proposed by W.H. Hunter. Over here suggested that dividing secondary school education into two streams. One, literary streams, preparing students for university education who will go for higher studies. And one, vocational stream, equipping students with skills for commercial and professional careers, whatever they want to choose. They are weak in studies, if they are not financially well, they can opt this particular path also. Right, so this path was given in this particular commission, guys. Over here they focused upon this female education too, expansion of higher education he also gave. So one point you will be seeing that encourage the establishment of more teaching examining universities to cater the growing demand for higher education. This point you will see in higher education only. So because of the Hunter Commission, you will be seeing the growth of secondary and collegiate education. Rapid expansion in secondary and higher education happened. Notable developments were these: Punjab University, Allahabad University became the centers for higher education. Decentralization happened. Transfer of control to district municipal boards happened. Encouragement of Indian participation over here. Female education was focused upon. Parallelly, you are seeing that they were also focusing upon, and parallelly, social reformers like Jyotiba Phule, Savitribai Phule, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was also focusing upon this particular aspect. So you will see that Hunter Education System or Commission marked, this was the first education commission. You have to understand, first education commission was Hunter Education Commission. Marked a critical step in addressing the shortcomings of earlier education policies, particularly at the primary and secondary levels. Dekho, we are talking about only till independence what were the education policies. After that you have to study it in your post-independence or in the current affairs, the recent education policies also. It shifted the focus from elitist education to broader outreach, laying the groundwork for an education system that was more inclusive, though still constrained by limited funding and colonial priorities. Okay, I hope you will make certain notes, small notes out of, very crux notes out of this particular point. Like for example, you don't have to write this female education again. Encouragement of Indian participation, you yourself know. So write something which are hard to study, which you have to keep in mind that yes, dual track, you have to decentralization, very important point you have to write over here. So likewise you will make notes of this Hunter Commission also, guys. So now we will be seeing this commission, guys, Raleigh Commission 1902. Okay, we have come to this second commission, Education Commission now. So this is your Indian Universities Act, which is another name of Raleigh Commission. Raleigh Commission. And Raleigh Commission is the second education commission, because first was Hunter Commission, right? So over here, Raleigh Commission is also known as Indian Universities Act 1905. Why? Based upon this Raleigh Commission, you will see that this act was passed. So what you are understanding over here, 1902, Raleigh Commission was appointed. And based upon, this is the second education commission, based upon their recommendation, 1904, Indian University Act was passed. Understand this very clearly. Over here, this commission was appointed by Lord Curzon. And Lord Curzon, when I was telling you about Lord Curzon in our freedom struggle, first phase of freedom struggle, I told you that Lord Curzon were having a lot of reactionary policies. And one of the reactionary policies I told you was Indian University Act 1904. Now we will discuss what was there. Okay. Till now, 1882, you are seeing Hunter Commission, and Hunter Commission basically was focusing upon primary and secondary education. Because of this Hunter Commission, there will be a large spurge in the secondary education. Means a lot of colleges will be opened up. a lot of private institutions will be opened up. Because of that, what will happen? There will be deterioration in the quality of education. Quality of education will be one issue. Second issue will be, because a lot of people will be studying secondary education and they will be opting for higher education now. So a lot of, you will see students will be going for higher education. Also, second issue was that during 1900s, these universities were the hub of nationalism. Nationalistic ideas or nationalism was emerging from these institutions at that point of time, 1900s, right? So what Lord Curzon or the Britain wanted to do by this act, three things. One, to basically regulate higher education so that they can improve the quality also, and they can curb the nationalist activities too. So understand this carefully, guys. Indian University Act was a significant intervention by British government in the functioning of Indian University. Hunter Commission was for primary and secondary education. Raleigh Commission or Indian University Act was basically for universities. And how many universities we have at that point of time? Dekho, I told you after Hunter Commission 1857 onwards, Bombay, Bengal, Calcutta University, Bombay University, Madras University was formed. Madras University, Bengal University, or Calcutta University, you can say. And this is Bombay University. Over here, then after the Hunter Commission, you will be seeing, this is after the Woods Dispatch, you will be seeing 1857, these were formed. 1883 onwards, I told you Punjab University was formed and Allahabad University. Total 5 universities also. Okay, so over here you can see Punjab University, 1882, Allahabad University. Total 5 institutions you are seeing. So now understand, guys, on universities, this 1902 Raleigh Commission was appointed. Commission was set up by under Thomas Raleigh by Lord Curzon to examine the state of Indian universities and recommend reform. The commission focused solely on higher education, excluding primary and secondary education for its purview. Very important. If you suppose in this way, I guess you might not have studied from spectrum, and these statements become very important. Because likewise UPSC can pick the statements I have told you, that Raleigh Commission focus upon primary and secondary education. So if you have not read even with active mind, you will miss this particular part, guys, right? And once you have studied it, it will become very easy for you, because other than that, they will not play with anything over here, because already it is a very complex topic. Okay? This you have understood. Also, political context, you will be seeing that growing nationalist sentiments among students and graduates were seen as a threat by the colonial administration. So universities were viewed as the breeding grounds for political revolutionaries over here. Two things: to maintain the quality, and to curb these revolutionaries activities in the institution. They wanted to have this commission. Okay? And so the Indian University Act was passed, and now as per this University Act, certain provisions will discuss that the universities were encouraged to prioritize academic study and research, moving beyond their traditional role of merely conducting examination. This is one point, that they focused upon research. Very important point. This is very important point, that reduction in the number of fellows. You try to understand those students still who are doing their PhDs in the current scenario, they are known as research fellows somewhere, right? Research fellow, PhD students. At that point of time also, in 1904, we are talking about, there were fellows who were doing their PhD or higher education over. What was there basically? This is university. In university was governed by a senate, means the governing body. You can say a governing body. Now this governing body will be having certain members as the fellows. And these fellows at that point of time was having lifetime tenure, means lifetime they can work over here in these institutions as a fellow member. So what they did, first of all, they reduced the number of universities fellow. They reduced this number. Also, they fixed the term of these fellows. Fellows are the scholars, you can say PhD scholars, or the students who are working over here in the university. Also, second point, most fellows were to be nominated by the government, ensuring greater official control over university administration. This point you try to understand very clearly. What they try to mean by this. For example, this is a governing body of a university. I am writing this university. University has to be governed by one senate, or this is I can term at governing. Now, some of the governing body, some of the members of this governing body will be fellows, and these fellows will be nominated by whom? By the government over here. And the government who is sitting over here, colonial government, Lord Curzon. And their primary aim was to curb the nationalist sentiments, nationalist activities. So that means now in the Senate, who will sit? The favorable of Lord Curzon, or the government favorable people will be sitting in the Senate, and they will be taking decisions in favor of the colonial interest, not from the nationalistic interest. Understand? So anywhere, if they want, Lord Curzon want to curb certain activities, they will pass the order from the Senate. Also, any decision passed by Senate can be counter-checked or can be stopped by the government. That means government interference was introduced because of this Indian University Act 1904. And that's why you will see that the campaign was launched by nationalists at that point of time. Moderates were fighting against this Indian University Act. Extremists were voicing their voices against this Indian University Act. Because of this act, the government was trying to control these universities, right? So government control, you can see over here, the government was granted the power to veto regulation passed by university senates. The government could also amend existing regulation and impose a new regulation. This is greater government control. Stricter affiliation rule. This is also one very, very important point. That now any college cannot come and get a name of this college, university, cannot become university. So condition for the affiliation of private colleges were tightened now and limited the establishment of new institution without government approval. That means any institution which has to come up as a university or college now has to go through very tightened process. So this one point you can say it for the quality purpose. Also, now the financial support was to be increased from 1 lakh in the 1813 to 5 lakhs over here for 5 years over here you will be seeing. Okay, that means an annual grant of 5 lakhs for 5 years will be given to improve higher education and university. Now, I hope things are getting clear. 1813, 1835, 1843, Thompson, 1853. Woods Dispatch, 1882, Hunter Commission, now 1902 or 1904, you can say Indian University. Two things you have to write. Raleigh Commission based upon that Indian University Act. This is very important. So justification of Curzon over here, you will be seeing improving quality and efficiency of higher education, regulating private colleges to ensure educational standards. But the true intent was to suppress nationalistic activities and control intellectual growth, aligning it with the colonial interest. Because by this time period, the colonial people officials also understood that the education is not working in favor for them. Rather, it is working against them by breeding the ground for nationalist activities, right? So over here you will be seeing that against this Indian University Act, nationalists saw the attack, nationalist opposition you will see. They saw it as an attack on academic freedom and a deliberate attempt to curb the rise of nationalistic consciousness. Gopal Krishna Gokhale described it as a retrograde measure, criticizing the government undermining Indian aspiration for self-improvement. The act was perceived as an effort to strengthen imperial dominance by limiting the role of education in fostering critical thought and political awareness. So, lastly, you will see this Indian University Act was ostensibly aimed at improving the quality of higher education, apparently you can say, but was primarily a colonial tool to suppress nationalist sentiments and tighten imperial control over education. Very, very important. Okay. Now you see after Raleigh Commission, we have got this Sadler Commission over here, 1970. First Commission, Hunter Commission, Raleigh Commission you've seen, Sadler Commission 1917. Now let us see. See over here, Sadler University Commission 1917-19. You try to understand. 1882, Hunter Commission was appointed to see the affairs of primary and secondary education based upon Woods Dispatch. After that, 1902, Raleigh Commission was appointed to see the secondary education, university education affairs. 1917, Sadler University Commission, naam mein university hai. That means it was appointed to foresee take the overview of this Calcutta University, guys, basically. Why? Because the deterioration of Calcutta University was happening. A lot of students were enrolling over here, but there was not there was not adequate infrastructure, also adequate staff to handle this particular students who are coming over here. So there was a lot of load which was coming at these universities. So one commission was appointed by Lord Chelmsford, that was the Governor General, Viceroy of that particular time period, 1970, and he appointed this Sadler Commission over here to check that, to give some recommendation for the improvement of universities. So the Sadler Commission over here you will be seeing officially known as the Calcutta University Commission. Why I have told you Calcutta? Primarily his focus was on Calcutta, but what he gave, the recommendation was applied all over India, right? So it was established to address the specific problems of Calcutta University. However, its recommendation influenced the broader education system across India. So the commission reviewed the education system from school education to university education, making it one of the most comprehensive reviews of the time. Though Sadler Commission was given the task of assessing university, but Sadler went ahead and he said that universities are getting filled by the students who are getting passed from secondary education. So he also asked that secondary education should be reviewed and reformed. Okay. How secondary education was happening at that point of time? Till 10th, there was secondary education. After that, people would enter into university education. That's why after metric, people will directly study in universities. What Sadler gave recommendation was, after 10th, there should be some intermediate, there should be made one intermediary college which will be for 2 years. That's how 12th also emerged. Until now, the same thing is followed. That's why in villages and some local areas, you will be saying, people will say interpass. Interpass means 12th pass. And then universities, people will come to university. So what will happen? A lot less people will be coming to universities, because a lot of people will not be able to clear the stage or will not be able to study ahead, right? So the university's load will be less over here, you will be seeing. So over here, what was his recommendation? First of all, reform in school or intermediate education was introduced. 12-year schooling system. The commission recommended extending the school education system from 10 years to 12 years instead of existing shorter duration, right? Students would then enter university after completing an intermediate stage. And then at university level, what he introduced, at university level, there will be two type of courses. One will be honors course, which is still going on till now, and one will be pass course, which is still going on. So honors course is for some bright students. Pass students is for the students who are not equally meritorious as the other students, right? So 3-year university degree was introduced over here. Introduced the concept of a 3-year degree course at the university level. Better preparation, reduce university burden over here. Collegiate education, offer intermediate education to students not intending to pursue a full university degree. Okay, and then there were boards set up for both secondary and intermediate education. Till 10th, secondary education, that means secondary board. And for 11th, 12th, there was intermediate board. So 2 boards were set up. Recommended creating a separate board to administer and control secondary and intermediate education. Okay. Flexibility in university regulation also, they said that it should be less rigid. The role of universities, I have told you that they also recommended a residential model. That means people should come over here and stay over here only. So this was also introduced over here. They also promoted focus upon female education. They also focus upon scientific and technological education too, and on the teachers training too, guys, right? So because of the Sadler Commission, you will be seeing from 1916 to 1921, several new universities will be emerged now. Mysore, Patna, Banaras, Hindu University, AMU. So these names were changed, right? Reorganization of education. The recommendation laid the foundation for modern school university structure, which is still going on today, including the intermediate stage, that is 12th class. Focus on female and vocational education. Government adoption, you will be seeing in 1920, the government of India recommended the Sadler report to provincial governments, encouraging its implementation. So the legacy of Sadler Commission, you will see that it has a lasting impact on the educational system in India, which introduced a more structured and tiered system of education, shifting the focus towards intermediate colleges, advocating for autonomy in universities too. Next, you see the Sadler Commission we have seen. Now you see Hartog Committee 1929. But before that, you will see one more change. And the change you will see in the form of education under diarchy. In the Act series, or if you have studied the 1919 Montagu-Chelmsford Act, I have told you that this Act introduced diarchy at the center or at the province, at the provincial level. Diarchy means the division of subjects, transferred subjects and reserved subjects. And this division is happening at the provincial level, I am telling you. Okay, focus upon this. So the transferred subjects, let me tell you in a bit neat way. 1919 MC reform. Montagu-Chelmsford. In the center, there was Viceroy, there were the Executive Council, there was the Legislative Council or additional members. Okay, this was the center of 1919. And these additional members were divided. Bicameralism was introduced. So they were having upper house and lower house. This was the structure, right? And they were legislating upon what? Central subject. In 1919 Act, the provinces were working how? Provinces were having their governor, and the governor were having executive council, and governor were having the additional members too. And these additional members, some were officials and some were elected ministers. Those were basically non-official ministers. So these provinces will be handling the provincial subjects, and these provincial subjects were divided into reserved and transferred subject. Now, reserved subjects will be handling revenue, paisa, law and order, police. These subjects were handled by the Executive Council, which were completely British, except 1 or 2%, and will be handled by governor and his Executive Council, reserved subjects. Whereas the transferred subjects, upon these laws will be made by these elected ministers, right? That means they are having the local control over here on the transferred subject. And under transferred subjects, you are having one of the subjects as education. Okay, that means as elected ministers, if I am the elected ministers of 1919, I would think that education, I will erect some more universities, some more schools. For making the infrastructure for schools and universities, I need finance. And for finance, I have to go over here before the governor and his Executive Council to pass some finances for education. So that's why diarchy was a problem, right? Because over here you will see education under diarchy. Now there were problem under this because what was happening over here, you will be seeing limited central oversight. You will be seeing reduction of government grants, cutting financial support. While the government had been providing generous grants to educational institutions since 1902, they significantly reduced or stopped under the diarchy system. Okay, so because of that, you will see in this time period, philanthropic efforts were seen huge. Right? Despite the financial constraints, education continued to expand due to the efforts of philanthropic organization, private initiatives, and local community. So overall, there is nothing to see much more into this. I'll directly tell you about the Hartog Committee now. So Hartog Committee was set up in 1929, and 1929 was the period of Simon Commission also, if you remember. Hartog Committee was set up to assess the state of education in India, particularly in light of the rapid expansion of schools and colleges that was happening at that point of time. Okay, despite the increase in number of institutions, the quality of education had suffered over here, and till now you see this point will come everywhere where you read about the education related stuff, right? So it led to the deterioration in standards. So this committee focus was on improving the quality of education and give some recommendation about the Indian education system, right? What was the recommendation, guys? There again, recommendation, they focused upon the primary education. This Hartog Committee told that in the primary education, what is happening? Two things are happening. One is stagnation. That means people are not able to pass one class. They are studying in one class year after year. Another thing which is happening, that is wastage. That means people are getting dropped out after that. Children are not completing their education of primary education. So wastage means because a lot of government fund is going towards this education, and people are not even completing this education, primary education. right? So the committee stressed the importance of primary education as foundation of educational system, and it recommended that efforts should be directed towards improving the quality of primary education. That means stress should be given upon the teachers also, the teachers who are teaching at primary level too. Also, the committee recommended that compulsory education should not be enforced too rapidly, and it advocated for gradual and sustainable approach, not compulsory education. That's why after 8th he introduced that either you can go for vocational courses, and if you are good in studies you can go for 10th secondary education, right? Vocational education for average students, diversion to vocational courses, I have already told you. Write this down, read this down. After the 8th standard they can go, right? One important thing, now university admission will not be very easy. It will be restricted. That means test will be conducted. Aptitude will be checked in order to have you get education under university. So this was one thing which he implemented. So this would involve more stringent selection criteria to ensure that only most qualified students were admitted to higher education institutes. Right. So what was the impact? Focus on quality over quantity happened. Vocational education as a solution. Limitation of university expansion you will be seeing over. Guys, next is your HYT committee is done. Now you are seeing this Wardha scheme 1937. What is this? We will see it now. So over here, Wardha scheme of basic education 1937. Somewhere you are listening an Indian name. So this is first national education plan you will see over here. Wardha scheme of education. Understand, this has come in 1937. Before that, 1929, HYT committee. 1917, Sadler. 1902, Raleigh. 1882, Hunter. 1853, Wood's Dispatch. 1854. 1843, Thompson. 1833, Macaulay, or 1835 you can say. 1813, Charter Act. Before that, individual efforts. 1937 was the time period, and 1935, as per Government of India Act 1935, you will see that provinces were allotted autonomy. That means they can legislate upon the subjects independently in the provinces. And the one of the provincial subject, important subject, were education. And in this lecture, we are focusing upon education only. So that means the Indians, elected Indians, have the power to make some policies regarding education which can be reflected in the society, right? Because until now, what was happening? HYT committee, Sadler Commission, Raleigh Commission, Hunter Commission were all British in nature, and they were making our policies. For the first time, provincial ministers got the power to frame the education policies for our country, India, right over here. Also, this Wardha scheme of basic education was highly influenced by the ideas of Gandhiji on education. Okay. Gandhiji's idea on education. And Gandhiji's, in simple words, I'll be saying Gandhiji's idea of education is learning by doing. Means he focused upon the practical work too. Okay, so over here you will be seeing that in 1937, one national conference on education was appointed, right? Means it was held over here in Wardha. And at Wardha, the president of this national conference on education who was made over here? Gandhiji was made the head over here. And it was organized by INC. Because in the 8 provinces out of 11, INC was having the majority. Okay, so this conference held in October 1937 aimed to address the needs of Indian education system. And for this particular education system, one committee was also formed, that is Zakir Hussain committee. Subsequently developed a detailed scheme based on the resolution passed during the conference. This scheme was deeply influenced by Mahatma Gandhi's educational philosophy as articulated in his writings Harijan, and also when he was in South Africa, Young India. Because in South Africa, he opened this Tolstoy farm, right? And in India, he opened a lot of farms, a lot of ashram, basically Sabarmati ashram and a lot of others, right? Sevagram ashram. So it was highly influenced by the Gandhiji's views too on education. So one of the most prominent scheme or one of the most prominent provision of Wardha scheme will be learning through activity. They will be focusing upon the craft work too. And in the recent National Education Policy of 2020, you will see that now the curriculum should be such that it should include certain craft works, practicality. Okay, the core principles behind the Wardha scheme was learning through activity, where students would learn not just through books, but also through practical hands-on work. So the idea was to link education to practical needs of everyday life, especially in rural India. Okay, also basic handicraft should be included in curriculum. That's why in Gandhiji's ashram, you will see that charkha was mandatory for all if you are living over there. You should wash your own toilets and bathrooms. You should maintain cleanliness, swachhata. Right? They focused upon that. So that's why he focused before knowledge, before these books, you should do this activities, daily life activities by yourself. So the scheme emphasized the inclusion of basic handicraft in the syllabus. This approach was aimed at developing practical skills that could be used in daily life and would be beneficial to the community. Then you will be seeing free and compulsory education for the first 7 years they recommended. Because over here, very important, the first 7 years of schooling were to be free and compulsory. But education hogi kisme? In which mode it will be given? Vernacular, mother tongue for the initial year. So language of instruction will be Hindi or vernacular languages will be employed. After 8th, English should be used, right? Community integration, people should be able to contact with the community around schools. Education through productive activities, handicrafts, productive activities should be included. Child center and cooperative activities should be there. But this scheme which you are seeing, Wardha scheme, was never implemented because its implementation faced several challenges, because in 1939, World War II started, and without asking India's British participated India into the war. So that led to the resignation of Congress ministries in 1939. So it never came into existence, but its provision are utilized and are read a lot. Okay, scheme gained significant attention and support. So right now, which policies, education policies you are seeing are heavily influenced by the Wardha scheme too, or the later commissions too, right? So the Wardha scheme was not just a methodology for education, but an expression of Gandhiji's vision for new life and new society too. Gandhiji believed that Western education had created a divide between the educated elite and the masses. And this is a real instance. You can also feel that. Through this scheme, he hoped to create an education system that would empower all sections of the society. Okay. So though Wardha scheme did not fully materialize, it remained a significant influence on Indian education in the years following independence. Okay. So over here we have seen the Wardha scheme too. Now the last plan before independence, Sargent plan, we are going to understand. So see the Sargent plan of education now, guys. So Sargent plan was named after John Sargent, who was the educational advisor to the British government over here. Now Sargent was appointed, this plan of this commission was appointed to oversee the education system in India, and they gave a recommendation, they submitted their recommendation to CABE. What was that CABE? Central Advisory Board of Education in 1944. Central Advisory Board of Education. It was set up in 1935. In 1944, they gave the recommendation to this, and CABE basically accepted these particular recommendation too. So this plan sought to address the challenges faced by the Indian education system, set a roadmap for its development. So it was a bold attempt to restructure Indian education in India, aimed to create a more modern and accessible system. Let us see some of the provisions, guys. For the first time, you will see this plan. Which plan? Like this prelims examination, it can come. Which plan focused upon the pre-primary education? This was the Sargent plan, guys. They focused upon that pre-primary education, 3 to 6 years also we should focus upon, and people should be like, they should be given some formal schooling before these pre-primary education in this particular segment only, right? Second point was to elementary education, that we were saying the primary education. He changed the term and he said that elementary education should be given 6 to 11 years of children, and this should be completely free, universal and compulsory, which already previous commission has talked about. Wardha scheme was also talking about the same. And high school should be there after 11 years. After 6th class, you will be seeing high school, 6th to 10th. High school education should be there, 11 to 17 years. Okay, high school education was to be provided. And there should be two types of, after 6th class, either if you are good in studies, you should go ahead with the academic high schools. Otherwise, if you are average, you should go for technical and vocational high schools. Understanding? So there, Hartog talked about that after 8th class, you should think about this, vocational or continuing with the study. But over here, Sargent is talking about after 6th class, what you should do. ठीक है. Then there was university education, you can go ahead, है ना. Also they focused upon technical and vocational education, abolition of intermediate school, very very important. That means till now we were seeing that people will be studying till 10th, 8th to 10th, this is primary education, this is high school, then 10th to 12th intermediate stage, which was introduced by Sadler Commission, and this intermediate stage was abolished by this Sargent Commission, guys, over here. Abolition of intermediate course, simplifying the education system, shortening the time taken to complete higher education. This was their agenda. Adult education literacy they focused upon teacher training and special education too. You will be seeing the ultimate goal of the Sargent plan was to create an education system in India that mirrored the educational attainment in England. Okay. It aimed to ensure that within 40 years it will come similar level of educational development as the United Kingdom was having at that time. Okay. But it was having certain lack of implementation methodology. Suitability to Indian conditions was not there. Financial constraints were also there, and you will see after 1944 this commission came. 1947 we got independent, so we had our own commission for the education, right? Over here you will see, despite its limitations, Sargent plan was an important step in shaping the direction of post-independence educational policy. It emphasizes on universal education, vocational training, abolition of illiteracy. Okay, so these are just you just read it through. And if you want that I should discuss about the post-independence educational policies of 1968, 1986, 2020, and the newest education policy, we'll discuss it in a separate video, but this is the part of modern history. Let us quickly revise of all what we have seen till now. I hope you have utilized your books too. A final revision I'll make. I have told you about the individual efforts. Over here you will learn about the Calcutta Madrasa Sanskrit College, Raja Ram Mohan Roy's effort, okay, Jonathan Duncan and all. Then you have seen 1813 Charter Act, whole set for education, 1 lakh, and over here Anglicist versus Orientalist debate. After that 1835 this debate was ended by Macaulay's minute. Downward filtration theory, educating the elites, not the masses. Over here you have understood. 1843 in the northwestern provinces, James Thompson was active, and he was focusing for vernacular languages, also for village learning. Also he established IIT Roorkee in 1947 around. Then after that, very important, 1854 Wardha Despatch you will learn. Wardha Despatch, because of that, for the first time it is considered to be Magna Carta, because first time structured education will be given. He focused upon primary education, secondary education, then higher education. He focused upon that primary education should be given in vernacular languages only, right? And after that you will be seeing that 3 universities will come into picture: University of Calcutta, University of Bombay, University of Madras. After that, to oversee the working of this Woods dispatch on education system, 1882 Hunter Commission was appointed. Hunter Commission only talked about primary and secondary education, not about higher education. So in 1902 a Raleigh Commission was appointed to stress upon the fact of universities, and 1904 you will be seeing Indian University Act was part. According to that, you will see government was trying to interfere. That means fellowship, you should remember over here. Fellows restriction. Fellows were government was interfering in the Senate decision, universities regulation, right? Then you will come 1919 or 1917 or 18 something around. You will be seeing Sadler will be appointed to oversee the deterioration of Calcutta University. But his recommendation was appointed everywhere. Rather than focus upon the universities, he introduced one intermediary stage. Then after that, you will be seeing 1929 Hartog Committee. Hartog Committee, your recommendation you said. 1937 Wardha scheme and 1944 Sargent plan. I hope 1 or 2 times you revise it once for all. If you are listening it sincerely, I hope you have utilized the gaps also, pauses also, and in 2 hours maximum, 1.5 my lecture, half an hour of your study too. This will be on your tips, guys. Okay. Thank you so much. If you like this, do comment, do mention it, and if you want any other session, do comment it, guys. I'll be making it too. Thank you so much, guys. I'll be meeting you in the next session.